In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this neon granny square cardigan. For this cardigan tutorial, you're going to need 6 different colors of yarn. This can be any colors of your choice. I chose to go with some vibrant rainbow colors with a black border. I ended up using the I Love This Yarn brand, and I used this with a 5mm hook. You'll also need a threading needle and a pair of scissors. For the tutorial, I'm going to be using the blue square as the example. To start, it'll be 4 single crochets and a magic ring. And to do that, I do mine a little bit differently. I take my 2 fingers on my left hand, make a crisscross. I go under and I pull through, yarn over and pull through. From here, I have the yarn in my left hand and I grab the circle so that it's just like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to pull this tail and pull this closed, just like that. From here, I will do a slip stitch to close off the ring, just like this, and pull tight. Now our magic ring is complete. This is going to be working mostly with double crochets, but to make the first double crochet, I am just going to do a chain of 2, and that'll count as our first one. Now I'm going to yarn over, go into that same stitch, double crochet, and now 1 more. So this granny square is going to be compiled of clusters of 3 and then corners. So this is our first cluster of 3 double crochets. Now to make the corner, we're going to chain 2 and now do the same thing. In this next stitch, yarn over and do 3 double crochets. Now we need to make another corner, so we'll chain 2 and the same thing going on. Another corner, chain 2. Now this will be the last set of clusters for this round of the double crochets. Yarn over, there's 1, 2, and 3. Now this will be our last corner for this round, so we'll chain 2. Now I'm just going to do a slip stitch into the first double crochet, just like that. From here, we're going to turn our work and do a slip stitch into this area. And now we will do 3 double crochets in the same spot. 1, 2, and 3. And moving on to the next spot. 1, 2, and 3. Now since this spot is a corner, we'll do a chain of 2 and put 3 more double crochets in that spot. 1, 2, and 3. Moving on, this will be the next corner. 2 and 3, chain of 2, 2 and 3 double crochets. As you can see, we are just doing double crochets all the way around, and then whenever we get to a corner, we are doing a chain of 2 and putting a total of 6 double crochets in the corner. Moving on, we're doing this all the way around until we get back to where we had started. Chain of 2. One, 2, and 3. Now this is where we had started, so we'll do 3 double crochets and then chain 2 and join with that first stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3. We're going to chain 2 and slip stitch into that first one that we had made, just like that. As you can see, the square is getting bigger, so from here, turn our work, do a slip stitch into that first area, 3 double crochets, there's 1, 2, and 3. Now in this middle spot, 1, 2, and 3. Now since this cluster of the double crochets is in the middle, it's not at one of the corners, we just put the 3 double crochets and we move on to the next spot. We only do the chain of 2 when it comes to a corner. Here's 2 and here's 3. Another corner, chain 2, and add 3 more into that same section since this is a corner. I'm going to continue that same pattern all the way around and I'll meet you right back here. Now that I finished that round, I'm going to continue doing that same clusters of the double crochets and the corners. I'm going to do 2 more rounds of those and I'll meet you back at the end where we will tie it off together. In the end, your square will be about this big and it should be about 5 inches across. So keep finishing your rounds until you get to that point. Now that we've reached the last round, I'm just going to double check and make sure that this is the correct size. I'm going to measure, and yes, that is about 5 inches. So we should be good with that. To close off this corner, I already did the chain of 2, and I'm going to do a slip stitch to close off, just like that. And now I'm going to just chain 1, cut my yarn right about there, and then pull through to tighten. There we go. And just like that, this square is now complete, but we still have to sew in these extra ends to give it a clean finish. I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to take my threading needle and I'm just going to weave in and out this extra tail around this middle part. Insert, pull through, and I like to just kind of go in a circular motion all the way around. This doesn't have to be perfect. You can weave them in really in any spot that you like. We're just trying to get the tail out of the way and so that nobody can see it. I'm going to do the same thing with this top. I like to go in from the side, pull through, and then do the same. Just go in and out of the clusters. Take your scissors, cut off the excess, and there you have it. Now your square is complete. To make the border of the sweater, I'm going to be using this black yarn. The brand I'm using is I Love This Yarn. I'll be using a 5mm hook. Let's get started. I'm going to start by making a chain of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And now from here, I'm going to do 8 half double crochets along this line. It's a little hard to see with this black yarn, but you're going to start from the second chain from the hook, yarn over, and do a half double crochet, just like that, and do that all the way down the line until you have 8 completed half double crochets. Once you finish your last half double crochet, you're going to do a chain of 1, turn your work, and do the same thing going all the way down. 8 half double crochets. Yarn over, just like that. I'm going to continue that all the way down and I'll meet you back here. Alright, we've made it back to the end, and on that last half double crochet, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. You're going to do this back and forth, 8 half double crochets, chain 1, 8 half double crochets, chain 1. Keep doing this pattern back and forth. This is one of the handcuffs that I had finished. To do this, I did that pattern with the half double crochets, and I did it until I saw that it was able to fit around my wrist comfortably, just like this. If I turn it inside out, it might be a little difficult to see with this black yarn, but I joined the 2 sides together just with a slip stitch, and I closed it off and left a long tail for sewing. So make 2 of these wrist cuffs. This is the border that I finished for the lower part of the cardigan, and this is the border for the inside portion of the cardigan. I finished all of the parts for the sweater. I ended up making 51 granny squares with 2 long borders, 1 for the inside of the cardigan and 1 for the lower half, and 2 wrist cuffs. Now I'm going to lay this all out in the pattern that I want. We're going to start sewing everything together. To show you how to sew these together, I just took this top section off from the top of the cardigan for the example. So as you can see, this is the outside because this is the perfect middle point. You can tell on the back it's not as great looking, so I would say this is the front. So I'm going to flip these up, and we are going to take our yarn and sew down the middle. I'm going to take the black yarn. I want it about the length of the squares, but you want some extra just in case, so I'm going to add some extra length. I already did most of it. This is just how I do it. I start by sewing the inside parts. That's how you could see it here, so that then on the outside it's kind of a prettier look. It's a more of a clean finish. First, you want to make sure that your squares are facing the correct way. So there is an outside where it is pretty, it's symmetrical, the square looks very good. And then on the other side, it doesn't look as great in the middle. So I'll call them the ugly side. You want to have those facing up so that then once you're done sewing here on the top, when you flip it over to the pretty side, it's going to look very clean. My black yarn and my threading needle, and I'm going to start at the corners. Starting with the purple, I'm putting my needle through the bottom first stitch, and then going over to the other side, I'm doing the same and pulling through. Now I'm going to alternate going back and forth between the 2 squares. I usually like to go through 2 stitches compared to just that outside one, because then that's really gonna hide the black yarn and it won't be coming through on the other side. So I put it through 2 stitches here and then 2 on the other side and pull through and 2. And as you go, just pull it tight to make sure that it looks secure. You can always flip it over to see how it looks. As you can see, the black yarn is not peeping through. I'm going to continue that all the way down. This square is complete. Here is more of a close-up, and then if I turn it around, this is what it will look like. And even if you pull on it, you can't see the black yarn through the other side. This is the method that I use to connect all of my squares together, and then for any strands that were left out, I double knotted them and then sewed the black yarn ends into the project so that they were no longer seen. I'm going to be showing you how to attach the handcuff to the sleeve. As you can see, this is slightly cinched in, so it gives it more of a puffy look for the sleeve. So to do this on the other side, we're going to turn the sweater inside out, as well as the handcuff that is going to also be inside out. To attach the handcuff to the sleeve, I left a long tail for sewing. As you can see, this is the inside compared to the outside that has some cleaner lines. I'm going to be using my threading needle. So to start, we're going to be attaching the 1/2 of the cuff to the 1/2 of the sleeve. The way I like to visualize it is seeing that this is going to end up in the middle, meaning that this whole square has to all fit on half of the cuff. So to do this, for every stitch that I thread onto the cuff, I'm threading about twice as much on the sleeve. I'm going to start at the bottom, taking my threading needle and putting it through. I like to go about 2 stitches into that first blue and pull through. And then I'm going to go back and forth between the 2 into the black. I'm going to go a little bit further out compared to the cuff so we can make sure that it really cinches and there's enough room to sew them both together. And pull. And wherever you see these extra pieces of the black yarn, just know that later in the project you can sew these in at a different time. And now going through the cuff again and about 2 stitches out. And I'm going to place my needle through and pull tight. I'm going to continue that all the way through this first square and I'll meet you back here. I finished the first blue square and I have about half of the cuff left to finish the green. Once that is complete, I'm going to flip my work and do the same thing going along the other side, finishing off sewing on the cuff. And here's the finished sweater. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I was having this vision in my mind of what I wanted it to look like, and it came out just that way. I hope you guys love this tutorial. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below what you'd like to see me make next, and let me know if you end up making this cardigan. Thanks!